the C1 effect. Most people in a chiropractic office know C1 as the atlas vertebrae. Hi, I'm Dr. Joseph Baker from the Limerick Chiropractic Center, and welcome to your Tuesday 10-minute talk. And we're going to be talking today about the C1 effect. Now, most people think, well, we're talking about the upper part of their neck, this tiny little vertebrae, this little circle. Well, oftentimes we talk about this in reference to things like headaches and sinus infection, ear infections in our children. Well, today we're going to be talking about something a little bit different with the C1 effect, and that's your blood pressure. Let's recognize that oftentimes, as we have been trained to think, that where the pain is where the problem is. Where the signal is where that problem is going to be found. Well, this is one of those situations where that's not the case. We oftentimes think about cardiac issues, blood pressure issues as being something that's out in the system, that's in the thoracic area, when in fact it can be most likely coming from the neck itself. Well, today we're going to explore that just a little bit. I don't want to give you a really huge breakdown of neurology, but we're going to be talking about two different nerves, the vagus nerve and the glossopharyngeal nerve, and how they control your blood pressure. The research is out there that demonstrates, and this research was done by the University of Chicago Medical Center, where in fact the C1 vertebrae, that very top vertebrae in the neck, was adjusted, and it affected both the systolic and the diastolic blood pressure. Now, the remarkable thing is that this study also revealed the fact that it had such a pronounced effect that it was the same effect that the medical doctors would see if in fact they prescribed two different cardiac medications at the same time. Now, the remarkable thing is that so many individuals that are out there have been diagnosed with hypertension or high blood pressure with an etiology that's unknown. And when we look at this information that we have up on the screen, 90% of cases, that's a huge number of cases, have been diagnosed with essential hypertension. We realize that when we have been diagnosed, when somebody has been labeled that way, the tendency is the outcome is not very good. Now listen, this isn't chiropractic information. This is health-related information that we believe that everybody should be aware of. And in fact, one of the biggest things is by having this information and knowledge, it allows you to make better decisions. Now, Dr. Hauser, who happens to be a medical doctor in Florida, he has done research and he's done numerous studies on cervical instability syndrome and how the breakdown of the ligaments that are in the cervical spine are capable of affecting so many nerve roots. In fact, the cranial nerve, that vagus nerve, has been documented as being significantly impaired and infected because of cervical instability syndrome. Now, we've done conversations on this in the past. If you're not aware of them, things like car accidents, slip and falls when we've been younger in our childhood could possibly eventually lead to cervical instability syndrome. No, we don't need traumatic onsets. No, we don't have to have devastating impacts. It could be the constant and very insidious, very slow wearing down of the arthritis, where it continues to degenerate the joints over a period of time. One of the biggest things that we always recommend is making sure that you get checked, that you test the system. And listen, I don't know if your blood pressure happens to be coming from a subluxation in your atlas, the very top of your neck, from instability syndrome, or from other issues. But what we do know is that oftentimes we simply are labeled, given medications, and told that we have to live with that for the rest of our lives. And yes, every medication out there does have a side effect. Every medication has another problem that it's going to create eventually. Our job as chiropractors is to make sure that we're getting to the root cause of why your body is functioning the way it is. And in turn, by simply testing the system, by understanding how this nervous system of yours is working, how it's wired and fired, guess what? You get to make those better healthcare decisions. If in fact you struggle with high blood pressure, if you're having difficulty maintaining that blood pressure, even being on medication, I'm going to recommend you just simply talk to your local chiropractor about having some of those evaluations performed so that you can ensure that your nervous system is functioning the way it's supposed to. This C1 vertebrae, this top vertebrae in your spine, every nerve in your body has to pass through there. All but the 12 cranial nerves. And even the 12 cranial nerves, many of them pass very close beside this. So if in fact this vertebrae is at a place, if it's subluxated, it's capable of creating nerve irritation that could possibly lead to the blood pressure in your system being higher than it's supposed to be. If in fact you have further questions about how your blood pressure might be affected by a subluxation in your spine, please leave me a comment in the section below. As always, we ask you to like, comment, and share on this information to help us to make sure that more people out there are being made aware of the possibilities of having help through natural chiropractic care. As always, I'm Dr. Joseph Baker from the Limerick Chiropractic Center.